What we're going to be doing in this video is showing you the different light images you can see with the Observ 520X. So we've got all of them here to show you. So we have daylight, you've got a texture, you've got pigmentation, you've got redness, you've got parallel polarized, you've got cross polarized, UV and woods. We're now going to just click on daylight to show you what daylight brings. So with the 520X, you will always have a little infographic there which explains to you what you are seeing. So you can do your reading up on that. So daylight is very self-explanatory. It is nothing more than what you would see in a mirror. The most amazing thing is as it is encased, you're only ever going to get the same lighting. So you can take a picture in the winter, the summer, the morning, the evening, any time of day, and it's always going to be the same colouring, which is vital for before and afters. So the client can't turn around and say, oh, the lighting's changed, because it won't. So daylight just shows you what you see. Very self-explanatory. We're now going to go to texture. Now texture shows you I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Again, you've got your infographic there if you want to see more. So texture's a great one. So if you've got a client who's using maybe the wrong cleanser, or they're not drinking enough water, or for whatever reason they have a build-up of excess keratinization, dehydration of the skin, it is going to show up here, which is actually quite a nifty thing to have. So on the other side of texture, you've got parallel polarized. So they're more or less similar of what you are seeing. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you something a bit nifty here. So we can show you texture on that one. And then you've got, let's make sure we've done the parallel polarized on that one, which I think that is correct. Yeah, I think so. So here you've got your texture and here you've got your parallel polarized. So the texture is just showing you the sheer texture, and this shows you the parallel polarized, shows you it within a daylight image. So you can actually see, and if you sort of then start doing some treatments with your client, this is a great image to then show before and after, to actually when you start seeing the change in the texture of the skin. So having the two just gives you the extra benefits of what you can explain to your client and their skin issues. So I want to come out of that mode and go back. So you've got there's texture and there is your parallel polarized. We're now going to show you pigmentation. Pigmentation is a really handy thing because if I compare that to the daylight, you did not see that in daylight. And it's really good to explain to the clients the benefits of looking after their skin from UV light, showing the damage that might have been done from UV light, or just showing, say they're coming to you to have a pigmentation problem that you might see in the daylight picture, you're going to see a lot more in the pigmentation. Now with the pigmentation, the one closest to that, so I'm going to just show you, sometimes you get a bit carried away with this, don't you? So you've got pigmentation and then you've got UV. So UV is going to show you even more underlying pigmentation under the UV light. But they're going to be similar again. They're quite similar modes, but it just shows them in different ways depending on how you want to explain it to your client, what treatments you're going to recommend, what products you're going to recommend. It's entirely up to you how you utilize these two light modes, but it's definitely showing what is going on underneath. And that's, sorry, I've got to do this because I just love it sometimes. So that's daylight. So you can see, so if we go to pigmentation, no, whoops, jumped one. So daylight to what is going, so, just shows you, you do not know what's going on underneath the skin until you look through it properly. Okay. So let's go back, whoops, a daisy, detail. So what we're going to do now is go to redness. So under redness, don't really need to explain too much about that, do we? The underlying redness of the tissue. which is important to see if someone's got underlying rosacea. It might show from a thread vein. It just shows you, again, maybe an inflammatory response of what's happening to the skin. The alternative to, let me show you on here, light, and then we go to your, you've got your cross-polarized, and then I'm going to go back to my redness. So you have cross-polarized, which is on the opposite side, and you have redness. So again, it's a different version of showing you the different underlying redness. So if I zoom in on that, and let's just zoom in on the nose, you can see that little thread vein, and you can just see it there. And then with the pigment on the forehead, you can see the underlying redness is there, but that really goes bling, 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 redness, redness. So again, it's just a great, great way of just showing your client what is going on underneath their skin. Let me zoom that out. And to be honest, what happens is you end up just playing yourself to find out what's going on. Now, the last one I haven't showed you is the woods. So we're now going to be looking at woods. So I'm going to zoom in with the woods because this image we have of Ian isn't brilliant, because woods is going to show sebum flow. It's going to show you your blackheads. It's going to show maybe any sort of bacteria that might sit on the skin. So if we zoom in really, you can see there's a very slight there orange colouring of sebum flow. And then again on the nose, we've got a little bit there. So if you've got someone who has a lot of sebum or congestion or blackheads, it is going to show up. I'm just going to do a comparison for you of UV, and so we're on woods. So I'm just going to do the UV. So you can then just see the comparison. So you've got the same again in your UV. So it's just, again, it's a preference to what you see between the two. Yeah, you can just see it there. So realistically, all in all, you've got a lot of different imagings that you can use to show your clients what is going on underneath their skin. So I will finish this by coming back to detailed and starting back where we started with daylight. What we're going to show now is the view mode. Now this very smart little function, we can show the different angles of the images you've taken. So say you've taken side views, you can do the comparison of the side views. So if we go to texture, so we can do it in texture mode. So say for example you want to show one side to the other side, you can. So you can show sort of the left side to the right side. So you can actually show just different views of the face as you've taken, and you can do it with all the different variations. So if you want to compare one side of the face to the other, it's a nice little feature to have. Then the other thing is what we can do is we can show the variations of the skin. So if we go back to, say we can do from texture to daylight, or we can do the underlying redness to daylight. So you can just show what the client sees in daylight to what is going on under the skin. Pigmentation was a nice one to use. And then again, as I said, you can change the views and the sides. So again, you've got so many features to show your client what you are analysing. Another great little nifty one is the before and afters. So when it's time to show your client what you've done in treatment and how the results are working. So let's go to daylight. So they're both on daylight. So you've got one on the September the 22nd and one on November the 9th. They're both on daylight, and then you can show what you've done. Now with these images, the texture one is quite good to see. So we've got one eye's open, one eye's closed. So maybe make sure you have it either one or the other. So you can see here when I zoom in, the difference it shows. So from what we had to what we've got, which is a nice little nifty thing. Now, when you're doing your before and afters, you can also do this with the other modes. This is really great. You can do them, let's do horizontal. So you can go from what your skin was, and you go all the way up to what your skin is, and you can see the change in the texture. We can do this in daylight, and then we can go what your skin was to what your skin is. And then you've got other different modes you can change. You do side by side, vertical, blended, and as we've done, top and bottom. So it just shows you, so you've got view mode and compare mode. What my advice would be is once you've got your machine, play around with these modes and you'll work out what works for you.